What people don't know is I started when I was like 12 or 13, and I only really started to get subs when I was, I don't know, 16, 17. And just now, as I'm 22, I hit 100K. So it took me like 9 years. I went to like, I guess you could say film school. I did a film major. I had one editing class the whole time in that and learned nothing from it. By that point, I had already learned everything. What should I do now? Because if I want to continue doing YouTube, I have to earn some money. And I kind of got to get serious about this.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pit Crew podcast. Today, we got Chris from Drive Smart back at it again. Also, Robert Hill, we can't ignore him. Always fun having Robert Hill on, but we got a special guest on tonight. No, not a NASCAR driver, not a car owner. We got a fellow NASCAR content creator. He goes by Raw Gator. He's going to be joining us shortly. But man, we're in for an exciting episode. Episode number 11. We're still moving. I'm loving it. I'm having fun. Welcome back, Chris. How you feeling, buddy?
No, I'm feeling great. And if you notice, we've made some changes. So from my perspective in the video, it no longer looks like a place where if you were being held hostage, like that's where we would ask your family or loved ones for money. And it also doesn't look like we just performed a coup d'etat, right? And this is the first message to the public. So I think overall the adjustments are nice. And this right here, we plan on using again in the future. So we'll get into that at a later point. But it's good to be back.
But Robert, how you feeling, buddy?
Yeah, feeling good. Excited to be here tonight. Episode number 11 already. Can't believe we've already surpassed that double-digit mark, but lots of great episodes still to come, and tonight should be a good one as well.
Get it. I think we should bring on Raw Gator. Welcome, welcome. How you feeling, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun episode. Also, congratulations. You hit 100K on your YouTube channel this year. That must be a big deal.
Well, what you guys don't see behind, it's actually behind my monitor, kind of behind my camera, is I actually got the plaque mailed to me, and I had this plaque for like 4 or 5 months and just now took it out of the box and hung it up.
That's my biggest dream as a content creator. I want to do it with the Drive Smart channel. I want to do it with the DLBTV channel. But that is my biggest dream as a content creator, is to get one of them plaques.
Yeah, so congratulations on 100K. That's a big accomplishment in
Thank you.
itself. But I imagine that the 100,000 isn't the end goal, right? So it's a really, really cool accomplishment to get that far. But I imagine there's more to it. So I like to always start in the beginning. So give me a little bit, like, where are you from? Like, give me your childhood for a minute.
Oh, my childhood? Okay, yeah. So I mean, how far back we talking? Like where I was born, what? Where I went to elementary school. No, I'm just joking. But
yeah, we'll start with the hospital.
Last 4 years social, those type of things. Nothing too crazy.
All right, I'll give you a little story. I was born in Oregon, and so one of the main things here. Well, I grew up a race fan, but in Oregon, there's a big problem. We don't have a racetrack like a NASCAR, Cup Xfinity Truck Series track. Unless do they race at Portland still? Maybe. Anyways, my first NASCAR race was in Arizona, Phoenix Raceway. Watched the Cup Series there, and that was one of the first NASCAR races I watched, and I've been following the sport ever since 2009.
All right, so 2009, who would have been your favorite, like your first favorite driver then when you first got into the sport?
Okay, well, this is funny because my mom took me to the race. She really liked Jeff Gordon. She wanted me to be a Jeff Gordon fan. I remember I was at the track that day with a Jeff Gordon hat on, but I kind of wanted to choose my own favorite driver, and my favorite was Carl Edwards.
Nice, yeah, Carl Edwards was good. I started becoming a fan probably in the early 2000s. My first race was 2001, and I'll tell you, like everybody's mom was a fan of Jeff Gordon. So that guy definitely, like the women's demographics, he had definitely more than half of it at the time growing up. He was a stud. So Robert, I'm gonna pass it to you, my brother, and why don't you welcome our guest here?
Yeah, Gator, welcome to the show here tonight. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are beyond the camera, behind the scenes? What do you do day to day, and what gets you through life?
Well, I'm known for being the guy who runs the Raw Gator channel, but that I guess isn't my main focus. So I work full time currently as a YouTube Shorts producer slash editor. For a YouTuber, his name is Cypher PK. That's what I do kind of off camera, out of the NASCAR scene. Recently moved to Texas here and getting settled in.
Very nice. And I did want to just let you know they do still race at Portland. They'll actually be there next weekend with the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So maybe you're gonna head over to the racetrack, check it out a little bit, or what?
Well, I haven't lived in Oregon
Oh
in
yeah, you moved. That's right.
probably 10
Get
years,
back there.
so yeah, I think I missed that window,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's racetracks in Texas, so I'm sure I'll make it out to one soon.
No, Robert doesn't care though. He's like, listen, I know that there's up in Portland, and I know you're down in Texas now, but are you going to go there in 2 weeks? And
Hey, I
there's
would,
Sonoma
I
right
would.
after it. So,
I don't understand your country. It's all the same thing. You're all in the same place.
yeah, that's fair. I can understand that because, like, I know where Canada is, and I got an idea of the provinces and it's like 2 major cities. Everything else is Canada, so I get it.
Same.
So so obviously you're a fan of the sport, right?
Mhm.
And you have a producing background, but how did you get like when were you like, you know what, I want to make YouTube videos on NASCAR?
I've really always wanted to make YouTube videos. Like, what people don't know is I started when I was like 12 or 13, and I only really started to get subs when I was, I don't know, 16, 17. And just now, as I'm 22, I hit 100K. So it took me like 9 years. But I've always loved making videos. I used to do little NASCAR 164 stop motions. That's kind of how I started. But yeah, just always have loved making YouTube videos.
How many videos do you have on your channel in total? And I can, if I was a better at research, I can go look right now, but I'm going to ask you.
I think it's around 450. I don't know if YouTube includes shorts in there. I think they do. So between shorts, long form, I think about 450. That's not even the ones that are private, I think. So quite a lot.
And having 100,000 like subs like is something, right? Like, and you started at 0, and it took you like 9 years. So, and I know it's going to sound really cliche, but is that like where a lot of content creators fall off? Is like that consistency of just continuing to have videos and willing to grind it out, like when you don't have 100,000 subs?
Yeah, I think like one of the most important things when you're starting out is just you have to practice. It's not necessarily like, yeah, like your channel's probably not going to grow a lot at first, but you just have to practice making videos and focus on making better videos each time instead of focusing on, how many views this video gets, how many subs the channel has. Because like I know for a lot of YouTubers, when they start out, like their first 5 years, it's dead. There's nothing going on, no views, no subs. But it's only when they stick with it and get all this practice making YouTube videos, editing, everything, even streaming. That's when they finally. It's like the people who stick with it the longest find the most success.
Did you ever start off like doing live streams? Like, is that like, because I know like you, or did you hit a fork in the road? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, was it live streaming and video content creating, or did you hit a fork in the road and you're like, I want to do video content creating primarily? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who tend to live stream. I think at a glance, it's like kind of easier when you're starting out. But I was just all videos. That's all I did. I did the occasional like Fortnite stream on my PS4 or maybe NASCAR Heat 2 or NASCAR Heat 3. But it's all been videos for the most part.
So with your, so it sounds like you edit your own videos. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so how did you get into editing? Because I know you also do that on, not on the side, but that's also something else that you do.
Yeah, well it all stemmed because I wanted to make my own videos. So I started I started on an iPad mini editing videos on iMovie. And then I eventually bought a PC, started learning Adobe Premiere Pro, and that's what I've been using since 2018. And you know, like my I guess you could think of my YouTube channel as my resume in a sense. It kind of helped me get a job working for the YouTuber I mentioned earlier. So, I self-learned everything on Premiere Pro, and like that's kind of why I think like it's all about practice. Like the more you practice with a program, the more you're going to learn about it, the better you're going to get. That I'm just a firm believer in. You have to actually upload things, even if they're bad at first, because that's how you'll. It's the only way you'll get better.
Yeah, I mean that it makes sense. And you know what? And everything you said is right because you're doing it. But it's one of those things where it's so much easier said than done, right? Because like
Yeah.
you have to, I imagine a big part of it is you have to be disciplined, right? Because there's probably times where you're like, I don't want to do this, or like I'm tired of doing this. But if you want to get it right, like you have to, I imagine you have to put the time in, especially when you're self-taught. And it feels like that shift is it. Like there's nothing wrong with going to school for it, but I think like YouTubers that are successful do start very young, almost like just in sports, right? Like in sports, if you start young, you have probably a higher success rate. So it seems like a lot of it has to be self-taught. Is that like fair, or you have to have the want, and you can't just be like the face in front of the camera type deal? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you kind of do. What's funny about, I think you mentioned school for or like editing videos or whatever. I went to like, I guess you could say film school. I did a film major. I had one editing class the whole time in that and learned nothing from it. By that point, I had already learned everything in that class before I even attended the class. So I got nothing out of it. And anyone who anyone who wants to edit videos, they'll get something out of it. But I didn't. It didn't work that way for me. So and one class too. That's nothing. There's so
Yeah.
much more to editing that you just can't learn in one class in one semester. So
Did you get a good grade in that class? I imagine you
yeah,
probably did,
I
right?
would have to think so.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
have to think
Because
so.
you're like, listen, I know more than what I'm learning right now. And it's like there's nothing wrong with going to school. And like you said, if you want to learn how to edit a video, you would get that out of that class, but you're not going to get all the nuances and the little things and like
Right.
and that I guess is
And
like that comes with 450 videos at a minimum.
yeah, and I guess like in my experience too, they'll teach you how to edit videos, but there's a different type of editing from like short films or even movies than a YouTube video, and you're not learning like how to edit for a YouTube video, if that makes sense. So
So the
I think like
technology is ahead of the class.
you don't have to go to a class or a school. It can help certainly, but like most instructors are not going to teach how to edit YouTube videos. That's something you have to kind of learn on your own.
And not to sound crazy, but I imagine that's something you can learn on YouTube. Right? Like at
Yeah,
least find
yeah.
certain very specific things. Like you probably learned that on YouTube how to make YouTube videos.
Absolutely. I
Editing.
can't tell you how many tutorials I've watched about Adobe Premiere Pro just to learn well, at first, how to operate the program. Anytime, even still to this day, if there's a certain effect I want to learn, YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's literally its own resource to learn how to do it right. At least how to operate the like the software. You know, because some
Right.
of those softwares are difficult to the point where it's like, how do I even open this thing? Like, how do I get
Yeah.
started? So no, it makes sense. That's super super cool. And then like the NASCAR content, it's like that's an interesting space too. Like, so do you see? I guess if you had to make a video today, right? Or you were going to make a video and everybody's like, what would be the most clickbait topic? Like how do you you know what I'm saying? Cuz like it's competitive. What do you think like drives people now? Like what do people like to see?
That's a good question. I'm not like maybe like 6 months ago I could have given you a definitive answer because I don't know how closely you guys keep watch on my channel, but I haven't been heavily into it in a few months now. Um, I back in the day, I say back in the day, like 2, 3 years ago, I found a kind of a format that worked pretty well for me, kind of like a title template. It was NASCAR something moments. That did pretty well for me for a while. I imagine now maybe NASCAR viewers are looking for something new. I don't know. You just I like to just look on YouTube. I like browse and I see like, okay, what's popping on YouTube, NASCAR YouTube. How many views does this have? Why did it do so well? And then I try to like picture, I look at the thumbnail and title, I'm like, yeah, I can see why that did pretty well.
Yeah, it just like it tells a story and it adds up. So I'm going to pass it back to DLB.
Let's go. Okay, so I got a lot of questions. First off, what YouTubers inspired you to be a content creator? Because we all have like that one or two where you're like, hey, I want to be like that guy. Typically it comes at a young age. Who was it for you?
You're gonna know this guy probably, which is great. Remember how I said I started out doing NASCAR stop motions? I wanted to do those because of this guy. He ran a series called the Double E Cup Series, and
Oh,
he now goes by Eric Estep on YouTube. So he was one of my biggest inspirations to get into the NASCAR content creation scene. But there's other like, I mean, there's other YouTubers outside of NASCAR. Like one of my favorites right now is Ryan Trahan. So I take inspiration from a lot of creators, and yeah, I mean Eric Estep, right? NASCAR stop motions.
Always a good one to go with. So I know we both kind of like got going about the same time. I don't know what it was in 2017, but that 2017, 2018 range, like every big NASCAR creator started the same time, blew up at the same time, got trendy at the same time, and we're all just doing our own thing. So why do you think that we had such a big push then versus now there's not as many coming up anymore?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily know that there's not as many anymore. I think there was definitely a void in NASCAR content creation. Like there was just not really anyone doing it at the time. So we all kind of stepped in just I guess by coincidence at the same time. And now I think there's still new ones. There's just they're smaller for now, so it's harder to kind of see them coming up. Because I mean, there's like Ellie Productions. I think he's actually been posting for a while, but especially right now, he's been popping off. So there's definitely new ones, I think. Um, but yeah, as for like you said, 2017, 2018, why so many just popped up out of nowhere, I couldn't tell you.
It was a wild time. It was a wild time. So when you
It was a
started
fun
YouTube,
time.
it definitely was. It's like we were all doing our own thing, getting creative and just really paving the path because nobody has done it before us. But when you started becoming a content creator on YouTube, what was your goal at the beginning? Was it just to have fun, or did you want to grow a channel to 100K, or was it to build an audience, or where was it? Where's your head at the time on what you wanted to do?
At the time when I kind of got serious about it, I was sophomore in high school. I was probably like 16, and pretty much all I wanted to do, I just wanted to see if I could reach 100,000 subscribers. And I was like kind of committed no matter how long it would take. Um, and so for the 6, 7 years, however long, that was my main goal.
I completely understand that. I feel like I've been on that same wave and still going at it. So I completely understand because it's like when you start that journey, it's like you want to build up, and it's like you almost have to be so delusional where it's like, I'm gonna make this work no matter how long it takes at the beginning when you're pulling no views and trying to shoot it up. It's such a experience climbing your way back up. So when you started making a little bit of money off YouTube, how did that like conversation with your parents go when it's like, hey, I'm like, able to make a living off this? I know for me, it was like, it was hard getting them to understand it. Like, hey, I'm making money off the internet. This is going. And it's like, they were always super supportive, but it was so new to them because they had such an older mindset.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the case for a lot of YouTubers. I feel like you make a valid point. Um, I can tell you kind of what I remember. Like in 2017, that's kind of when I first started to get some YouTube earnings. I always, always, always wanted to play iRacing. Never thought I'd be able to until I was like an adult, got this like full-time job at, I don't know, Target or some restaurant. Then maybe I can afford a setup. But to my surprise, I was kind of making enough to where I could save. And eventually in 2018, I bought a PC, I bought iRacing, I used my dad's steering wheel and pedals that he had. And then, yeah, like I think in 1 month I had made, I don't know, maybe like a few $100. And I told my mom, and I remember her being really surprised, pretty much just as surprised as I was. So you don't really, I think when you start YouTube, you don't really expect money. It's kind of just a bonus that you get with it.
And back then, you could get monetized. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to like go in there and check a little box and link your bank info, and
Yeah.
then that money would just accumulate until you hit 1,000 subscribers, and then it would just like deposit straight into your bank account.
Yeah.
So I remember that's what happened with me. I didn't make like a crazy amount of money my first YouTube paycheck because it was like so long of like earning. But when I hit that like had the threshold, and then I hit the 1,000 subs, and now it's so different. There's so much has changed. But no, we raced on iRacing a couple years ago. Are you still heavy into sim racing and iRacing today?
I I was kind of explaining before we got on the show here. I haven't had a sim rig set up in over a year, so I haven't been on the sim. It's you know packed away in some boxes. It doesn't help that I just moved. I don't know if I'll get around to setting it up. I know iRacing's a lot of fun, so if I ever got back into it, I would just have kind of like a carefree mindset, just race whenever I have some time. Don't care about I rating, safety rating. Just be on there to have fun because that should kind of be the point, anyways.
Absolutely. It's such a fun community, fun game. Speaking of sim racing, Chris has got him a pretty cool sim rig over there. But I'm going to pass you back to Robert Hill and see what he has for you.
Yeah, obviously, being a content creator, it's not just putting a couple pieces together and uploading it to YouTube. There's a big process that goes into creating each project that you put out there. Why don't you walk us through a little bit of that process that you go through, maybe from the brainstorming stage to piecing things together and just seeing if your ideas actually work.
Yeah, the first step, like you said, definitely is brainstorming. I what I'll usually start to do is I'll look around in the NASCAR YouTube space, kind of see what's doing well, who's uploading what, is it working for them? Then kind of, think about what I can do to maximize views. Will my audience want to see this certain video? Okay, how will I make this work? I should probably make a thumbnail to see if, I like the title thumbnail combo. And then like literally, I think also one of the most important things about YouTube is your video idea has to be entertaining enough for people to click on it. Because if it's not that, you could literally make the best video in the world, but no one will ever see it. So yeah, it's a whole process between from pre-production, post-production to uploading. It's kind of a lot. It's more than just turning on the webcam and talking for a little bit and hitting upload.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily understand is the process that's involved in putting each of these projects together and bringing them to life just from an idea that you might have had or something that sparked your interest somewhere else. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what your favorite project is that you've done and maybe why that is your favorite project? Doesn't have to be the most popular, but something that you really enjoyed putting together.
This is good. I have a good answer for this. So there's 2 years ago, maybe like 3, there was a popular genre. It was the Dream Minecraft Manhunt series.
Okay.
And then I had seen there's I don't know if it's BeamNG, I think. There was a
BMNT, I think, yeah.
BeamNG YouTuber who did a car hunt series. So I saw that and I was like, okay, what if I could do this on iRacing? So I did an iRacing car hunt. I invited 4 YouTubers slash streamers to come join me, and it was just this big collab, this really cool video that I had a blast making, editing, and it didn't do as well as my other videos, but that was kind of expected. It was more of a passion project that I did for fun, and to this day, it was still one of my favorites.
Yeah, it definitely does sound like a good time, and there was a huge spike in BeamNG and stuff like that back in the day. And you talked about obviously Eric Esta being one of the one of the content creators that you looked up to when you were coming up in the industry. But one thing we talk about with a lot of drivers is people that they've had to lean on in the industry as they work their way up. Did you have a content creator like that you really leaned on or could check in with from time to time to see maybe if you're going about things in the right way or something along those lines?
Yeah, starting out, let me think back here. I don't really think I had like that one YouTube friend who was as committed, trying to just grow together with. I would
Yeah.
have loved to have that. I think nowadays though, I've been getting close to DJ EJ, who I'm sure you guys know. Just yeah, you can never really have too many like YouTube friends. And one thing I wish people would do, like in NASCAR YouTube, I wish content creators would just talk to each other more. I feel like that never goes on, and you can learn so much from just talking to another content creator. I try to DM people sometimes. Sometimes people will DM me, and I love that.
It would be good to have sort of like a community where you can all pitch ideas to each other and collaborate a bit more on things. And you mentioned DJ EJ. Of course, he was part of the Drive Smart to Daytona series, much like yourself. How did you go about drafting your team for that series? And did you have a couple disappointments? I know a couple guys that are on your team, so don't be afraid to throw some jabs here.
Well, I'm not huge into the iRacing scene. I know like the Coke drivers, and I don't know like the tier 2s, the tier 3s, like 5,000, 4,000 I ratings that well. So when I was drafting, I was like a big stats guy. Like, how did this guy do in the practice races? Okay, you did pretty well. I want you. But sometimes guys didn't show up to the races, which hurt us in the points a little bit. But other times it's just the element of racing, like you get caught up in a wreck. And so I didn't put too much thought into that. I think I hired. I think I drafted some good drivers, and especially Bobby. Like, I can't believe I think I drafted 4th and he was still sitting on the table. So that was definitely my best pick.
Absolutely. And if you were to do it again, what's something that you learned from the previous iteration of the Drive Smart to Daytona series that you would put into putting your team together for the second go around of it?
Probably just like I'd probably just research who did the best in the first Drive Smart series and then steal those guys, to be honest.
You know, draft Tucker Minter.
That's the way to do it.
Draft the guys
he's like a good running back or quarterback in fantasy football league, right? It's like, all right, step 1, you have the first pick, who you taking, right? So no, it does make sense. It was a cool event. We had a lot of fun with it. And it's the one thing that is tough is like when you have those open time trials and things like that, it's tough to really, it still turns into a lottery. I think we did a good job by trimming it down to, I think, like 300 to get drafted. So it wasn't like this vast amount of info. Because at the same time, like, the last thing you want to do is look at like 30,000 people, even if you can sort it, right? So it just made it a little bit easier based on time. So I think that worked out well. But it was definitely a cool event. We liked it. When Tucker and Casey got down to Daytona, it was like it rained the whole time. So like we went out adventuring more than we normally would because it's like there was not a lot of time to spend at the track. But it was cool to see the 500 first and then get the Xfinity race. I mean, it kind of stinks that Kyle crashed out so quick, but it wasn't like his fault. It's just it's Daytona for you, right? But other than that, the experience was cool. So like kind of want to do something like that soon, but we'll get into that as we get a little closer. But I do have a wheel now, so such a thing is possible. And listen, I'm pretty fast. So
are you trying to get drafted, Chris?
No, I'll draft myself if I have to. I have my own team.
Let me start a team. I'll draft you, Chris.
Yeah, no, I'll start a team and drive. No, I'm kidding. What was that movie that was like that where the guy bought the team so he could play at it? It wasn't an Adam Sandler movie or something. It doesn't matter, but such a thing did exist. And if anybody knows it, put it in the comments below. So I'm gonna pass it back to you, DLB, because the one thing is, what's funny, to be honest with you, is hearing somebody, because we've had these conversations before, DLB, about your goals with YouTube and like how you got into it, like when we were driving around in Florida. And when you ask some of the same questions to Raw Gator, not that it's the same story, but it has a lot of similar storylines to it, right? I know the journey is probably different for both of you, but it's like some of the same things come up like again and again, right? Just maybe said different. So I want to pass it to you because like you are our resident YouTube expert. I'm sure you have the best questions for him versus me, where I am the you have to mute my YouTube channel for me. So go ahead.
All right, so I know RawGator talked earlier about how the NASCAR community isn't very connected. I can confirm that. No, I never went out and like reached out a content creator. There's a few, and RawGator is one of them that I have had contact with over the past what feels like 10 years now. But that's something that I can confirm is it seems like everyone is just kind of in their own lane doing their own thing, and just nobody's really. DJ was one that has helped me a little bit especially since I started over here at Drive Smart, where he has helped me quite a bit with little things here and there, which is super, super, super helpful. But as far as Raw Gator, I mean, your journey is so similar to mine, but so different at the same time. It feels like the approach to every YouTuber's dream starts at like a young age, and we just grind this out and hope for the best, because I feel like a lot of ways, just like you, where we just stayed consistent. It's like we didn't care if we had no viewers or getting, like at my peak where I'm getting 10 to 20K a video. It's like we did not care how many viewers was there. We just kept being consistent and kept uploading. How big do you feel like being consistent has helped you get to this point versus having just the viral videos push you to this point?
Oh, that's a great question because lately I haven't really been that consistent. And honestly, throughout the recent years, I've only been posting like one long form video like a month. I've done a lot of shorts as well, somewhat consistently for like a month. And there's been like kind of a lot of viral videos too. So I would almost lean more towards saying that the viral videos carry more than being consistent, at least in my experience. But even then, it's still been years to reach a certain point.
So I want to talk about short form content, whether if that's TikTok or YouTube. I think late last year, mid last year, you was probably at like what, 70,000 subs, 75,000 subs, and you got on this run of the YouTube shorts, and it just happened to be at the right time. And for a lot of us, timing has been so big with becoming a content creator, like way bigger than people imagine. And most of the time, it's like, you hate to admit how much luck goes into it. Obviously, we both have worked very hard, but them shorts, they hit at the right time. Can you walk us through how the YouTube shorts have really affected your channel? And have you been doing very much over on the TikTok side of things? Or are you just sticking straight to YouTube?
Yeah, well, definitely. There's no secret that the YouTube Shorts propelled the channel like late 2023. And honestly, it did so even more than I thought. But I give a lot of credit to so I first, before I ever made a Raw Gator short, I was doing shorts for Cypher PK. And so just simple things that I picked up on over there, like how to make a short, how to make the most engaging short, how to ideate shorts that could go viral. I give a lot of credit to, my full-time job. And then I just decided to implement it. Okay, let's see. Can I do the same thing over here on Raw Gator? And yeah, like I'm not gonna lie to you, the shorts did way better than I was expecting. And also I think some of it at the time was, I kind of beat everyone to the punch in a way because there was no other NASCAR YouTubers really doing shorts at the time. I think on YouTube at least it was still kind of a new concept. On TikTok, TikTok's kind of a different thing. And my biggest flaw, I will say, I should have taken those shorts that I posted on YouTube and just throw them up on TikTok. I didn't do that, but that's kind of part of my new strategy now is that I will be doing that because, like, I made the video. What do I have to lose? I might as well throw it up on TikTok, try to get into the creator program and try to, get some pennies out of it. But yeah, that was my biggest, I guess, blunder during that whole thing where, I went on the little YouTube Shorts run to propel my channel because the same thing could have happened on TikTok. I was just, for some reason, I didn't think to upload it on TikTok, and other accounts re-uploaded my shorts on TikTok and saw like some success. So that's something I should have done
I
from the
tagged
start,
you in
but
one. I don't know if you remember that. I tagged you in one. I said, bro's stealing your content.
oh, have you seen it? Maybe you tagged me in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I tagged
Okay.
you when you liked it, and it's like I put
Oh,
like, "Bro,
okay,
stealing your
okay.
content, Raw Gator, so
Well,
he's
yeah,
stealing your
that'd be the
videos."
guy, unnamed person. That'd be the guy. I think there might have been a few more, but yeah, I'm gonna make sure to upload them first so I get all the money. No, but but yeah, I'm definitely gonna post the TikTok. If I continue to post more YouTube Shorts as well.
Some people like, and the graph, like some people like this long and this long and this long, and YouTube gives suggestions on how long a video should be, or you look it up like anything else. But like shorts, it just gets eaten up. I find myself doing it sometimes. I don't even mean to, but I'll start going through YouTube Shorts and like an hour and a half has gone by, and I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, where am I? Is everything okay? What was I doing? So like shorts do work. You kind of get into that run of just going for them, and every now and then you get an ad shoved in there. That's when you take a sip of water and keep going.
But how many NASCAR shorts do you see during that
None.
time?
You beat everybody to it. The concept,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
when you say it propelled your channel, it didn't, because like it didn't. You just took advantage of something that should have already been. It's how sometimes it's like, oh, that's so simple and stupid. It was like so simple. It's like no one's doing this, and I'm already making videos anyway. So check this out, right? So
Yeah,
It's smart, honestly. It's not, and then whatever the benefit to it is great because you put the content there. Otherwise, like, what's the sense, right?
Right.
Like that helped a lot with my personal channel when I started the iRacing videos. Like when I started, everyone else that was making iRacing oval videos would have like no thumbnail. Their titles would be like A Fixed at Charlotte. There wouldn't be nothing there. And then I just kind of like stepped in and like did it more in a trendy way. And it just automatically attraction just bet at it because there was an audience for it and nobody was attacking it. So that's always so huge. But my question next for RawGator is you talk about your full-time job now as an editor or another YouTube content creator. When did that start and how did that start? Who reached out to who? And walk us through what you're doing over there on that side of things as an editor.
Yeah, it started in 2022, like around the summer, and I was scrolling Twitter one day and I saw this job like listing for a Fortnite YouTuber basically. And before this, I had never applied to like a content creation job before. I was just like, well, let's just try it. Let's just apply. I literally made a resume like that day, I'm pretty sure. I applied, went through the interview processes. And at first, I wasn't an editor over there. I was just, assisting with actually producing the YouTube videos. But then through time, I became an editor, then producer. So it's like it was all unexpected for me. And like, if you would have told me, I mean, if you would have said like in the beginning part of 2022, like that I'd be working for someone else, because that was never my intention. I never wanted to work for another YouTuber. So it was just really unexpected sequence. And then here we are in 2024, still doing it, still loving it. And it's helped me in both ways. Like, it's helped me on the Raw Gator channel. The things that I've learned from doing the Raw Gator channel has helped me over there. So it's just a win-win.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely understand that. Very similar to me and my gig over here at Drive Smart. It's just it'll sneak up on you, and then you learn
Yeah.
so much, and then it's like these years of passion going into a YouTube channel can benefit you in another area, and then you can take that back to your own channel and vice versa, and just grow everything all together. So you said that you always wanted to like do it yourself. So was it a hard decision for you to jump over and be an editor for somebody else's YouTube channel, or did you always want to be the star of your own?
Let Dustin or let DLB answer that first.
Okay, I'll answer it. For me, it was a no-brainer. For me, it was a no-brainer. I couldn't even think about it. It was, I got to. This is an amazing opportunity. I'm so grateful. This is everything I ever worked for, and I never knew it would get to this point. And I was so happy when I got that phone call to get to that point. I'm curious how it was for you.
Well, I mean, I just hold on. I just want to follow up, and then I'll let you answer that. Right? I think that it's one of those things where it's so hard to explain, but it's one of those things where you have so much consistent content, and then like people see what your talent is, and it's like, okay, this guy or this girl or whoever it is, right, would be a great member of the team, like what we're looking to do. So it's kind of like one of those things where the street gets wider and the picture gets broader, is what I feel like. And then Raw, I didn't mean to like, because I was curious how he felt, because that was like a real deep question. So I needed to know for myself. But what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that was a good decision for you, especially if you're presented with the opportunity to kind of dabble in both still. It's like, why not? For me, I was part-time at the start, then I later decided to go full-time. But it was like, okay, let's put it this way. You could have a higher upside controlling your own YouTube channel, getting all the revenue from your own channel. But there's also an appeal to getting a consistent, reliable income working for someone else. So, I mean, but I think I remember you asking me, do I prefer to be in front of the camera or working for someone else? I mean, look at this background. Does it look like I appear on camera? I don't appear on camera in my videos very often. Never really have. Don't know if well, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm definitely more of like a behind the scenes type of worker, I guess. I don't know. But that's been the trend for me throughout the YouTube years.
Absolutely. It's crazy 'cause I feel like a lot we have went so different paths. Like I went left, you went right, but we still ended up like on the same path doing completely opposite things. I feel like that's so
It's
wild because I know
crazy.
when we started, it's like we literally started at nearly the same time. We both were hitting like 5K subs at the same time, 10K subs at the same time. We both kind of went our own different routes. I remember you were making like meme content. Like that's what I remember on your channel in the early days.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
making like these NASCAR meme related content. At what point did it go from like NASCAR meme content to being more serious of like to pull in the views and to like have like the slicker titles and to break away from the memes as much?
Dude, you're asking all the right questions because I've thought of this exact thing before. And the shift happened really when I went to college because it was at that point where I started to have bills to pay and I needed to rely on the income a little bit more. So it wasn't necessarily only for fun and just a hobby at that point. But at the same time, when I entered college or like a year later, maybe, I remember the ad rates were like abnormally really low when COVID hit. And so I was like,
Oh yeah.
okay, what should I do now? Because if I want to continue doing YouTube, I have to earn some money. And I kind of got to get serious about this. So that's kind of when I started taking the more like researching, I don't know, trends, making more like better optimized videos to actually pull in a greater amount of views and just like playing the YouTube game a little bit more. So it was definitely like kind of when I turned 18, 19, started having bills and when COVID hit. Because COVID was honestly a reality check for I'm not gonna lie to you.
That it killed us. The views
Yeah.
were crazy. We were getting no money. I was getting almost 1 million views a month, and it's like, okay, what do you have a show for it? Here's
There's
$130. Sorry, there's
no
no ads
money.
this month.
No money. So yeah, it was
It's
like
like as we're having our
that was
best months and just nothing to show for it.
that was
But
the
the
that
growth
yeah.
was big that year for everyone. Did you grow a lot during COVID?
Uh, I kinda stayed the same. I didn't really know what direction I wanted to take the content. It was only, like, 2021 where I started to have, like I put my new plan in place, started to get bigger views on the videos. 2021, 2022, and then last year were my biggest years. So 2021 or yeah, 2020 was kind of a dud for me, but it was kinda like an important period where I had to actually sit and figure out what I needed to do next.
I feel like same for me, but
Yeah.
2020 for my case was started off consistent. I think I started the year with like 15K subs or something, and then money went down, things got a little confusing. What am I doing? I stayed consistent, and then the views kept going up, the views kept going up, the views kept going up, and then I got put on the YouTube trending page for like gaming content creator on the rise. At that point, I went from like 22K to like I think by the end of that month, I was at like 27. Then by the time I got to 2021, I was at like 28 or whatever. And then it's 2021, 22, 22, 2023 has just been more of a steady uphill like climb after that. But I know for me, COVID really benefited me sub-wise, not so much financially, but sub-wise, it was a big up climb because everyone was just at home watching YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's so many content creators that got a career that year just because of that. And you see a lot of big content creators, like for instance, like Ninja or all these Fortnite content creators. That's when they blew up. All these Twitch streamers are blowing up there in that time. So I mean, how do you feel about the algorithm? Do you think it's the same it has always been? How has that affected you? Because I felt like I always had to keep changing things, whether if it's the way I title my videos, the way I make my thumbnails, the way I present myself. Do you feel like you always have to adapt with the algorithm, or do you feel like you're just kind of doing your own thing in your own lane and it's working out?
Yeah, I'm not actually too sure. I'm pretty sure at some points throughout YouTube's history, like the algorithm has, of course, changed. But I mean, I kind of got away with doing a similar type of video, like not the same video every time, but like kind of sitting in a similar title format, like I was explaining earlier, like a kind of similar niche. And I was doing that for years and nothing really changed. Like views didn't go down. But sometimes, I mean, there will be times where I upload the videos in immediate, like 10 out of 10. So a day later, I'll go in and I'll just like change the thumbnail. And I had one case where a video sat at 10,000 views. I changed the thumbnail and it, I think went to 300,000. So sometimes that does work. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about like how clickable is your video? Because like you could make the best video ever, but if no one clicks, then who cares, right?
It's a thing as in playing the algorithm too. Like Mr. Beast, the biggest content creator on YouTube, he's changing his thumbnail every hour for the
Yeah.
first 24
Yeah.
hours of the video releasing, just so the views keep going up. And
That's-
he's getting crazy numbers.
That's definitely like a new thing. If you wanna consider that the algorithm, that I haven't seen YouTubers do that until like 1-2 years ago, and now it's like
Oh.
a lot of creators are doing that now. So you could say that's
Well,
kind of like an algorithm shift, but
if you think about it for a second, just kind of thinking about like how the marketing works and think of the company that owns it, right? So when you give the company something, right? So it's a new picture, the company has to put it in front of something to see if it's liked or not, right? So every time you refresh it, it gives it another option to get thrown through the initial thing to tell you if it's something or not, right? And then depending on how it reacts, it'll put it in front of more people. So that actually is, I didn't even know that was a thing, to be honest with you, until you said that, but that's so genius. You should do, both of you should just do it, right? Even if it's not 24 hours,
Much right.
say every like 20, like 4 or whatever, like whatever's realistic to your schedule. But it does make sense because like a new picture, do people like it more or less? It's like, well, how do we find out? You have to put it in front of people.
and the only way you can get views is if someone likes it enough to click.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's pretty necessary, especially I mean, that's why you're seeing it so much these days with Mr. Beast. I think I've seen Ryan Trahan do it. You could go on, but yeah, it's been cool to see kind of YouTubers adapt because that's not something people used to do.
So when you got into editing and thumbnails, and you make really good thumbnails. So for me, I had to learn how to make thumbnails, and that was something just like editing. You had to get good at, and you had to get good at quick. How was it learning how to make thumbnails for the YouTube side of things?
Yeah, I'm no like thumbnail wizard or like, graphic designer, but okay, this is where I did have a class. Okay, I had a Photoshop class in high school. I don't actually use Photoshop. I use like a free program that's similar. So, I'm proficient in the software, but I'm not, going above and beyond. Like it's good enough to make a thumbnail, but that's one area I could improve. I would like to make, YouTubers these days are just making all types of crazy cool thumbnails. It would take me significantly longer to make that same quality of thumbnail than it does to take anyone that they hire them themselves if they know Photoshop like that. But yeah, I could get better in that area.
Such a journey. Well, I'm gonna pass you back over to Robert Hill and see what he has for you.
Yeah, first off, I think DLB took an indirect shot at me there when it comes to titles, because anytime I stream, it's always like A fixed at Charlotte or something along those lines. Nobody ever tunes in except for me on my phone, so I guess that might be the issue. But it's one of those things.
That was very
I
that was
guess
very
I'm not good at.
2015. It's very
Well,
2015.
There's a reason I'm not a content creator, I guess. But I don't know if we touched base on this, but where did the name Raw Gator come from?
There's a good story. So I made it when I was, I want to say 15, and I was using an online name generator, and I like there was, the first part of this name that I liked, second part of this name that I liked, I kind of just combined them. Boom, Raw Gator. It doesn't really make sense. It's not necessarily like the best name out there, but it's something I just rolled with, and I think at some point you kind of it might be better not to change your name as much as I may want to. But yeah, I just rock it. It's like it's on my YouTube plaque now, so it's like kind of with me forever. But there's a funny story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never would have thought that it would come from a name generator, but I guess that works and it's stuck with you. It's become your brand now and something that you can definitely grow with. And, you speak of your plaque, you had the goal of reaching 100K. what's your goal now? Where do you see yourself over the next year, next 5 years, and maybe even further down the road?
Yeah, that's genuinely very interesting because, like I was saying earlier in the show, like I just wanted to see if I could grow a channel to 100K. And that
Yeah.
was my goal for years and years. But then once I hit 100K, I was kind of like stuck because I didn't have something else to work towards. I mean, you can work towards views, you can work towards more subs. Like, I could get 130K, 140K, but nothing quite hits the same as 100K. And a million's a little bit, it's not out of reach, but it'll take years, like 5, 10 years. So that did have me kind of stuck, and around that time where I hit 100K, I did go full time uh, as a producer and editor. So lately, most of my focus has been over on that, and I think the YouTube page definitely speaks to that. I have like 2 shorts uploads in 5 months or something. So it's been a break, and it was really kind of like a struggle finding out what's next after hitting 100K because that was just my vision for so long. But
And obviously now you've hit the 100K. You're working full time as an editor producer for another large channel, almost at 10 million. So that's a cool goal for that channel. But do you have anything in the works for your channel as of right now, or is that kind of staying on the back burner? Maybe a couple more months, and then see if you could put some sort of a project together over there.
well, I have a few really cool collab ideas that I've kind of they're just in the ideation stage. Some like I guess you could say like higher profile people I want to collaborate with for some funny video ideas. But yeah, man, I gotta get back in the swing of it because the longer I wait, the longer it's just not gonna happen, right?
Of
You
course.
kind of just you have to start or else you're never going to. The hardest part is getting started, but
Can I ask you a
eventually,
hard
man.
hitting question
Yeah.
based on everything you just said? So like Robert asked you earlier, what was your favorite project? And one of them were like the Beam NG project. Like it almost feels like, and not to put words in your mouth, that like if you're going to start popping out content on YouTube, it wants to, not that you're not passionate about NASCAR, but you want to explore into more, right? Like something you actually are passionate about, the content
Mhm.
and making it around the sport. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a good point too. I Towards the end of 2023, I got tired of making the same video style that I've been making for 3 years.
Right.
And especially now, I wouldn't mind branching into some more IRL stuff, some more, still NASCAR related, but not necessarily what's the quote unquote meta for YouTube, what'll get the most views. I can afford to kind of take a step back and kind of make passion projects a little more like now that I have the insurance of having a stable income. That's something I look to do in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you have the 100K, right? So you hit your goal. That was the goal regardless. And like you said earlier, it wasn't about money. It's just eventually money is important. So you kind of have to get
Yes.
it for the time you're spending,
Yes.
right? In a perfect world, you don't need money, but it doesn't work that way. So, you hit your goal and you have stable income. And that's cool. Like, honestly, whatever video you put out next, like, I'm probably most excited to watch that because that's going to be like the whole, like, you're doing that because you love it and not just because it's a revenue stream or it's like content that nobody's filling the void. Because, like, we kind of talked a little before and we talk now, like there is still, and I think there will be for a while, a gap in content for NASCAR, like compared to a lot of the other sports. And I feel like that's where it's missing a little bit. And that's kind of on NASCAR a little bit. No shot at them, but like they could do more to reinforce content creators, right? To help like get them out there. So
Yeah. There will always be a void in any niche. You just got to find it.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Even if it's like just radioactive or whatever it is, right? If there's a butt for every seat, you just have to have the seat, right? And
Yeah.
then from there you'll figure it out, which is pretty cool. So I know that we're getting close to 9 o'clock. So I want to say first and foremost, we thank you for coming on. The event we did together was awesome. You were like
It was a
super.
blast.
We've worked with you a couple times. It's super cool to work with you. So like anytime, whatever you do moving forward, I'm sure your reputation like precedes you. So that's really awesome. DLB or Robert, you have anything else that you want to say before we let this gentleman go for the night?
When you upload it again to the Raw Gator channel, are you going to continue taking a step back for a few months? And what kind of comeback do you want to make when you do return?
When am I gonna upload again? As for a long form video, hopefully somewhere here in the next 2 months-ish, 1 month maybe. I've posted some shorts relatively recently. I think I'll post again on Saturday. Try to get more 1 million view bangers or like, just whatever happens, happens. If they get 10,000 views, they get 10,000 views. But long form videos are a little bit harder to fit in the schedule. I can make a YouTube short same day after work if I wanted, but um, longer long form videos take me usually a couple weeks at least. But I can't give you a definitive answer. I'm sorry, DLB, but sometime soon.
And my final question for you is, what would you say to an up and coming content creator as your one piece of advice that could really help them make it in this career or even just get started in this line of work?
It's going to be hard, but my best advice is to start as early as you can, because that's just generally where you'll have the most free time. Like if you're a teenager, you're probably not going to have a full-time job, so you'll have more time to devote to YouTube if you have the discipline to like not play video games and stuff like that. But it's literally like you just have to practice making videos. Even Cypher PK, he went his first like 4 years or something, and then he had his huge Fortnite blow up because he was uploading before Fortnite, but he wasn't seeing the same level of success as he is now. So you just got to practice and start as young as you possibly can, to be honest. That's what I would recommend.
Sick. Well, it was great having you on the show. You have a great night, and we look forward, and maybe we can work together on a new project coming up soon. That'd be sick.
Thank you, boys. Let's do it. Appreciate it.
Have a good night, brother.
Thanks for coming on.
And we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Next week, episode number 11. You know where I find it, here on YouTube. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be episode number 12. Hope you all enjoyed. Finally, once again, thank you so much, Raw Gator, for coming on, and we'll catch you all in the next episode of the Pit Crew Podcast.